Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the most vital insights from a stack of sources, giving you the shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're diving into a story that's, honestly, it's pretty chilling, but also really revealing. Imagine this. A father in San Francisco, his pediatrician, asks him to send a photo of his toddler's infected groin area for a remote consultation. Standard telemedicine stuff these days. So he sends the photo from his phone.
Right. Seems straightforward enough.
But this photo, it gets flagged by Google's AI as potential child abuse.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't just flagged. Within hours, his entire digital life vanished. Email, locked, photos, gone, cloud access, cut off.
Everything.
Everything. Even his phone number, because it was tied to his Google account, it just stopped working.
And he wouldn't have even known why at first.
Exactly. Not until the police actually showed up at his door.
Okay, and this is where the core problem really surfaces, isn't it? Because the police, they did their job. They reviewed everything, interviewed him. They even verified the doctor's records. They completely cleared him. No wrongdoing. But even after law enforcement confirmed he was innocent, Google refused to reinstate his account.
Still refused.
Still refused. It was like the AI had made its decision and the human reviewers just, well, followed the policy. There was no pause, no hang on. Could there be another explanation here?
That's devastating. And it's such a stark example, not just of AI gone wrong, but like you said, a wider issue in how we operate, even just human to human.
Exactly. It mirrors this pervasive tendency in our organizations and our teams to default straight to suspicion instead of, assuming positive intent.
We build these cultures, sometimes without even realizing it, that just lead with doubt. If we don't understand why someone did something, the first thought is often incompetence, or maybe even malice.
Instead of just asking why.
Yeah.
Or what was the thinking there?
Yeah, and that creates this blame culture you mentioned. It affects everything, doesn't it? How we react to mistakes, how we read silence, even just how we word feedback.
Absolutely. And who gets the benefit of the doubt often comes down to, well, things other than the situation itself.
So our mission today is to really dig into this, to do a deep dive on assume positive intent API, let's call it, and see how it's the bedrock for psychological safety and maybe even something more, like bravery in our workplaces.
Right. And we've pulled together some really fascinating insights from various sources that kind of unpack this whole evolution. Emotional intelligence, AI's role, it's all connected.
Okay, let's start with that cost of suspicion. The father's story is Exhibit A, right? The system defaulted to suspicion, consequences were immediate, severe. Now, translate that to a workplace. Think about, say, a critical customer report being delayed. An executive marches in and asks, "Did you drop the ball on this?" Just those words.
Ugh, yeah. You can feel the temperature drop. What happens next is usually not productive.
Right. It kicks off maybe 30 minutes of CYA, cover your backside. Everyone's explaining why it wasn't their fault.
Finger pointing starts. Defensiveness goes way up. And crucially, zero time is spent actually solving the problem of the delayed report. It just becomes this theater of blame.
And the alternative is often so simple. Like, what if that executive had asked, "Hey, I'm just trying to understand what happened with the report. What got in the way?"
Totally different vibe. Same urgency, same need to know. But the tone invites collaboration, not defense. You actually get a problem-solving session out of that approach.
So the impact of not doing that, of defaulting to suspicion, it makes everything slower.
Heavier.
Slower, heavier, definitely more political. Feedback sessions become these really tense things. Communication gets filtered because people are afraid to say the wrong thing. Teams end up spending more energy just navigating the internal politics than, actually tackling the real challenges. And fundamentally, it just eats away at trust.
Okay, so if suspicion is the poison, let's talk about the antidote's foundation. Psychological safety. We hear this term a lot. What is it really at its core? Yeah, it's a popular term, and for good reason. At its heart, psychological safety is basically freedom from interpersonal fear at work. Amy Edmondson's work, which is really foundational here, defines it as a climate where people feel safe enough to speak up.
Speak up with what?
With ideas, questions, concerns, even admitting mistakes. All without fearing they'll be humiliated or punished for it.
And that freedom is critical because
without it, you just don't get the good stuff. You don't get honest retrospectives where people actually share what went wrong. You don't get those early warnings about potential problems. You don't get real collaboration.
you just get compliance, people doing the minimum.
Pretty much. Just ticking boxes, staying quiet, which is not how you innovate or solve complex problems.
Okay, so psychological safety is that baseline, that starting block. Where does assuming positive intent API fit into this picture?
API is kind of the cultural posture, the mindset that makes psychological safety possible. It's not about being naive or ignoring problems. It's really about applying emotional intelligence to how we interact.
So it's starting with curiosity.
Exactly. Instead of jumping to suspicion, it means interpreting someone's actions by asking, what might I be missing here? Or what context don't I have? Instead of immediately thinking, who messed this up?
It's that pause.
It's pausing before reacting, asking questions before making accusations, really trying to understand the why before you decide how to respond, whether that's protecting yourself or punishing someone else.
Let's make that practical. You mentioned retrospectives. If someone says, we didn't get enough support from leadership on this, how does API change how that's heard?
Well, without API, it lands like blame.
Right.
Leadership might get defensive. But with API, the thinking shifts. You might interpret it as, okay, leadership was probably juggling other priorities we didn't see. Maybe we didn't communicate the urgency or the impact clearly enough.
So it turns blame into a potential communication gap.
Precisely. And that opens the door for dialogue, for learning, instead of just shutting down the conversation with defensiveness. Think back to the Google story. If they'd started with API, asked, what's the context of this photo? The whole devastating outcome could likely have been avoided.
It feels like it frees up so much energy that normally gets wasted.
It really does. Think about all the time and mental energy spent on, navigating office politics, crafting those carefully worded emails so you don't offend anyone, venting in back channels, strategizing before meetings.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
Totally. API lets you reclaim all that energy and actually put it towards building things, adapting, improving the work itself, maybe even enjoying it a bit more.
And for agile approaches, particularly in product and service management, you're saying API is like fundamental.
Oh, absolutely non-negotiable. Agile thrives on trust, on teams self-organizing, on solutions emerging through collaboration and quick feedback. If you have low psychological safety because the culture defaults to suspicion, your agile practices become hollow.
Like performative retrospectives.
Exactly. People won't share the real insights. But when API is genuinely embedded in an agile culture, concerns are seen as people caring, not resisting. Failures become learning opportunities. What did we learn? Not whose fault is it? Disagreements are just different perspectives, not personal attacks.
So it makes agile actually work as intended. More efficient, more respectful.
Way more efficient.
Yes.
And respectful, yes. It actually leads to greater accountability because problems get surfaced and solved faster before they blow up.
Okay, so psychological safety is the floor. It's essential. But you mentioned our sources push beyond that. What's the next level up, and why does it matter even more right now?
Right. Safety is the floor, not the ceiling. The next leap is towards creating brave workplaces. Brave spaces aren't just places where courage is tolerated. They're cultures where courage is actively modeled, especially by leaders, and where speaking up with challenging ideas becomes, frankly, expected.
Expected. That sounds intense.
It can be, but in a productive way. These cultures actively reward constructive challenge. They support taking calculated risks. They intentionally invite a degree of discomfort, because that's often where growth happens.
And with AI changing things so fast.
Bravery becomes essential. AI introduces so much uncertainty, confusion, potential anxiety. Brave spaces help teams navigate that. They shift the focus from just surviving the disruption to actively thriving and innovating through it.
But isn't comfort good? We want teams to feel comfortable, right? Our sources talk about an innovation paradox or safe silence. What's that danger?
Yeah, it's a paradox. If the only focus is on comfort and avoiding any friction, you can end up with safe silence. That's where people don't speak up, even when they see risks or have dissenting views, because they don't want to rock the boat.
So groupthink takes over.
Exactly. Groupthink, missed warnings, maybe even ethical issues get swept under the rug in the name of politeness. So the irony is the safest, most comfortable places can actually stagnate and fail to adapt.
Whereas brave spaces, even if a bit uncomfortable sometimes.
They adapt, they grow, they demonstrate real business agility. The goal in agile product and service management has always been about flow and delivery, right? And that often means confronting uncomfortable truths head on. It's different from some traditional project management structures where messy issues might get compartmentalized or deferred.
How do leaders actually model this bravery then? It sounds like it really has to start with them.
It absolutely has to. Leaders need to be the first ones putting their hands up and admitting mistakes. They need to focus conversations on recovery from failure, not on achieving some impossible ideal of perfect execution, which, let's be honest, is often a hangover from older project management ways of thinking.
So less about perfection, more about learning.
Yes, leaders need to take interpersonal risks themselves. Ask those slightly uncomfortable questions. Signal clearly that it's okay to have the icky conversations. Maybe a leader says, I made the final call on X feature, and looking back, I think I underestimated the integration complexity. What do we all learn from that? How can we anticipate that better next time? That's powerful modeling.
Okay, so leaders set the tone, but what about structurally? How do you build bravery into the way teams actually work together day to day?
Good question. Structural enablers are key. First, you need constant, abundant feedback loops. Not just formal reviews, but regular check-ins, open informal channels where difficult truths can actually travel.
So information flows freely.
Yes. Second, encourage cross-functional dialogue. Break down those silos you often see between departments. Get people talking across teams to build a fuller picture. Third, implement shared decision-making where appropriate. When decisions are made collectively, it naturally reduces the blame game because there's shared ownership.
And normalizing discomfort seems like a big piece too. How do you do that without just making people miserable?
It's about embracing healthy conflict, not destructive fighting. In retrospectives, for instance, actively probe for disagreements or tensions to surface underlying issues. Maybe even try rotating a devil's advocate role in key meetings.
Oh, interesting. To practice disagreeing respectfully.
Exactly. It builds the muscle for constructive dissent. But critically, you need explicit team norms about how to disagree respectfully. And think about inclusivity. Maybe offer ways for people to provide input asynchronously, like written thoughts before a meeting, so different communication styles, including neurodivergent ones, are supported.
So if a team starts getting braver, what would we actually see? What are the signs?
You'd see more constructive dissent, definitely, but dissent that leads to better solutions. You'd see impediments getting surfaced much, much earlier. People wouldn't wait for things to become a crisis.
And maybe people sticking with their concerns.
Yes. Team members reasserting concerns if they feel something important is being missed. Persistence driven by purpose, not ego, and overall, much better risk identification.
Are there red flags, though? Things that look like bravery but aren't?
Absolutely. Watch out for disrespect, disguised as candor. There's just bullying with a fancy label. And also, burnout masks as courage. If it's always the same one or two people sticking their necks out and raising the difficult issues, that's not a brave culture. That's a sign the burden isn't shared, and those individuals are likely heading for burnout.
Okay, this is all making sense. Psychological safety is the base, bravery is the next level. But it feels like there's an underlying skill powering all of this.
There is, and it's often the hidden variable.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, or EI.
EI, right. How critical is that compared to, say, raw intelligence or technical skill?
Well, think of it like this. IQ might be the engine's horsepower, your knowledge, your logic, but EI is the steering, the brakes, the accelerator. It's what makes all that knowledge practical and usable, especially when things get complicated or stressful. Research consistently shows high EI boosts leadership effectiveness, team success, overall job performance, and even satisfaction.
So you called it infrastructure earlier. Why that term?
Because it's not just a soft skill. It's critical infrastructure, like the power grid for your data center. EI fundamentally determines whether something like AI becomes a tool for acceleration or just another source of chaos and friction.
How does AI stress test that infrastructure?
AI dramatically increases the speed and volume of information and decisions. This means the human systems, our teams, our communication, have to cope with more ambiguity, make faster judgment calls, often with higher stakes. AI doesn't usually cause organizational dysfunction. It tends to reveal it and magnify it. If your EI infrastructure is weak, AI will expose that fast.
How does this play out differently in, say, traditional management versus agile?
Good distinction. In more traditional, rigid project management often associated with waterfall approaches, the focus is heavily on clear, upfront requirements, detailed documentation, and compliance with the plan. EI, while helpful, might sometimes be seen as secondary or even a bit disruptive to the plan.
Because predictability is key.
Exactly. That approach works well when the path is clear and the tasks are predictable. It aims for efficiency, almost like an autopilot. But it often struggles when unexpected issues arise that require human judgment, adaptation, and well, emotional intelligence to navigate.
And agile product and service management.
For Agile, EI is absolutely fundamental. Agile operates in environments of uncertainty. It relies on fast iterations, constant feedback, and continuous adaptation. High EI leaders are essential here. They build psychological safety by modeling vulnerability, actively soliciting diverse views, and crucially, responding to mistakes or deviations with curiosity, not blame.
And mindfulness plays a role.
A big one. Mindfulness practices help create that vital pause between an event like getting unexpected data from an AI and your reaction. That pause allows for a thoughtful choice instead of a knee-jerk emotional response.
Okay, so what are the key components of EI we need to focus on, especially with AI in the mix?
I'd highlight three. First, self-awareness. This is the starting point. Can you actually recognize and name what you're feeling? A leader who isn't aware of their own anxiety about results, for instance, might communicate that anxiety non-verbally, creating an unsafe environment without even realizing it. Teams pick up on that and shut down.
So knowing your own state is step one. What's second?
Second is empathy. And this isn't just about being nice, it's about accurately understanding things from multiple perspectives. AI implementation is a great example. Product teams might see potential, operations might see disruption to workflow, legal sees risk. Empathy is the skill that allows leaders to integrate these different valid perspectives into a better overall solution.
It closes the gaps, like that healthcare billing tool example you mentioned.
Exactly. Where operations resisted the new tool. It wasn't about the tool itself, but about their past experiences of being blamed when things went wrong. Understanding that fear, that context, that's empathy in action, it unlocks the real problem.
Okay, self-awareness, empathy. What's the third key component?
Third is emotional regulation. This is about your ability to handle pressure and manage your reactions, especially at speed. There's a simple tool I like, the above curious check-in. Just asking in a meeting, hey team, are we still above curious?
What does above curious mean?
It means, are we still in a learning, problem-solving state? Or have we dropped below that line into defending our position, blaming, or getting frustrated? The moment someone drops below curious, they stop solving the actual problem. And transformation efforts often stall right there. It's a quick reset.
That's a neat little tool. So how can organizations actually build this EI capability more systemically?
A few practical things. First, really normalize assuming positive intent as a default. Instead of asking, why don't you trust the AI recommendation? Try framing it as, what are you seeing from your perspective that maybe we're missing? It invites contribution, not defensiveness.
Language matters then.
Hugely. Second, pay attention to language choice. Use inviting questions. What made you decide to go a different route with that? Sounds very different from a judgmental, why didn't you follow the AI's recommendation? Third, embed emotional feedback into your regular processes.
Like in retrospectives.
Yeah. Ask questions like, when did we handle uncertainty really well together this past sprint? Or where did we feel stress might have leaked into our decision-making? These questions surface the human dynamics that often have a huge impact on results but rarely get discussed.
And you mentioned safe zones for practice earlier. Tell me more about that.
It's basically creating low-stakes environments for rehearsal.
Yeah.
Like maybe set up a cross-functional AI play lab. Teams can try out new AI tools, experiment, and this is key. Have open conversations afterwards. What worked? What felt weird or uncomfortable? What concerns did it raise?
So talking about the experience of using it, not just the outputs.
Exactly. You might have a junior engineer spot a potential bias pattern that others missed, but they only feel safe to voice it in that kind of environment. An hour of honest conversation in a safe zone like that is often far more valuable than months of generating sanitized reports or documentation.
What are the warning signs that an organization isn't ready emotionally for something like a big AI integration? What are the red flags of low EI?
You'll see blame culture thriving. Retrospectives will feel like a waste of time because nothing real gets discussed. Feedback, especially critical feedback, gets dismissed as just noise or just data without context. You'll see people agreeing in meetings, but then venting or complaining in Slack DMs or hallways. AI might get used as a scapegoat, the algorithm made us do it, or to simply justify pre-existing biases. And a big one is when any discussion of emotion is dismissed as being unprofessional or a distraction.
And the most dangerous sign.
Probably offloading the emotional complexity onto the AI itself, pretending that because a machine is involved, the decisions or the impacts are somehow not personal. Every system, every algorithm is built on human choices and has human consequences. Ignoring that is a huge red flag.
And it keeps coming back to leadership, doesn't it?
Always. Leadership sets the standards. A leader who can stay curious and composed under pressure give their entire team permission to do the same. A leader who openly owns their own reactions, maybe even casually asks their team, hey, what's it been like working with me this past month? Any feedback for me? That models the kind of self-awareness and vulnerability that builds incredible loyalty and trust.
So EI isn't just individual, it scales.
It scales and it multiplies. It always starts at the top. Ultimately, the organizations that are going to truly succeed in this next era won't necessarily be the ones that are the most automated, but the ones that are the most emotionally intelligent. EI is what makes the tech usable, what builds the trust needed for speed and real collaboration. The future is both tech-driven and deeply human-driven.
Okay, let's bring this down to earth even more. You mentioned some practical techniques for living this EI, for making assume positive intent more than just a slogan. Our sources highlighted 5, right? Simple things.
Yeah, really simple but powerful techniques. Think of them as emotional guardrails. They help you stay grounded in API, especially when things get tense or move fast.
Okay, what's the first one?
First is the pause protocol. Super simple. When you feel your emotions spiking anger, frustration, defensiveness, just say, I need 90 seconds. That's it. No big explanation needed.
Just 90 seconds.
Just 90 seconds. It gives your brain time to catch up with your emotions. Breathe, regulate, prevent that reactive email or comment you'll regret. It's saved many meetings, stopped people walking out. It's just applied wisdom, really.
Yeah.
Emotional agility in action.
I love that. So simple. Okay, what's number 2?
Second, use curiosity questions. Before you jump to conclusions or react defensively, train yourself to ask questions that open up the conversation instead of shutting it down. Instead of, why on earth would you do that? Say, try something like, help me understand what you were seeing from your side. Or, what was the thinking that led to that decision?
Like circuit breakers for arguments.
Exactly like circuit breakers. You could even print a few on a meeting checklist as a reminder. They shift the focus from blame to understanding.
Nice. Okay, technique number 3.
Context before conclusion. This builds on the curiosity questions. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to react immediately. Pause and actively seek the full context. For instance, a developer skips writing automated tests. Seems reckless, right?
Yeah, potentially.
But maybe you ask, what constraints were you working under when you made that call? And you find out they were under immense pressure from another direction, maybe conflicting directives. Suddenly, it's not recklessness, it's a system problem. Seeking the explanation opens the door to solving the real issue, not just punishing the symptom.
Get the whole story first. Makes sense. What's number 4?
Fourth is using mindfulness check-ins. These are small, non-intrusive ways to gauge the emotional temperature. Remember the "are we still above curious" question? That's one.
Right.
Just a quick calibration. Is the team still in a productive learning state? A Scrum Master might even have a little printout of a mood elevator they glance at, just for self-assessment. It's not about being perfectly calm all the time. It's about being aware of your state so you can engage effectively. Better awareness leads to sharper decisions and quicker recovery from setbacks.
Of being well-equipped to engage. I like that framing. Okay, and the 5th technique.
The 5th one is ego maintenance. This is about acknowledging that, yeah, we all have an ego.
Yeah.
We all like to be right. But there's a great phrase, being right feels good. Being effective feels better.
Huh, that's good.
So if you find yourself in a discussion hammering the same point over and over, pause and ask yourself honestly, am I genuinely trying to solve the problem here, or am I just trying to win this point? That little check-in can help you refocus on the actual goal, the context, and how your tone might be landing.
So managing your own need to win.
Exactly. None of these techniques are, earth-shattering on their own. But used together consistently, they create a powerful framework for maintaining trust and psychological safety, especially as things like AI keep increasing the speed and ambiguity we have to deal with.
This has been fascinating. It feels like there's a really clear path emerging from what we've discussed. Psychological safety is that non-negotiable foundation, right? It builds the trust.
Absolutely the starting point.
And then from that base of trust, you can start to intentionally foster constructive challenge, and that's where bravery comes in.
Right. Safety allows bravery to emerge.
And that bravery, that willingness to engage with discomfort and challenge is what ultimately leads to real growth, adaptation, and that true business agility everyone's chasing.
Precisely. It's not always about being comfortable. It's about being courageous together for a shared purpose.
So maybe the final provocative thought for everyone listening is this. What really changes? What new possibilities open up breakthroughs, maybe deeper connections, when you consciously start combining your technical expertise with this kind of genuine emotional insight?
That's a great question to ponder. The intersection is where the magic happens.
So, thinking about action, what's maybe one small concrete step you listening right now could take this week? Maybe it's just focusing on helping build that basic safety if it's lacking in your team.
Or, if safety feels pretty solid, maybe it's intentionally nudging things just a little bit into a braver space.
Yeah.
Ask a lightly challenging question. Invite a perspective that isn't usually heard.
Yeah, even one small act like that, modeling a bit of candor, seeking out a different view, it can really send ripples through a team culture.
Definitely. And if this deep dive resonated with you and you want to explore these ideas further, please do check out the links in the description. We've put links to the source videos that sparked our whole conversation today, plus some other resources that can help you build these crucial skills. We really hope you'll take a look.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep growing.